Folks, the Texas Republican primary can now be called, and it is very good news for the Democratic Party, and it is a nightmare news for the Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee. Folks, the Trump-backed ultra-corrupt Ken Paxton will go on to defeat incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn in the Texas Republican Senate runoff, setting up a high-stakes general election showdown with the Democratic nominee James Talarico. The interview I did with Democratic nominee James Talarico went ultra-viral today. Paxton's victory gives the Democrats their best chance in years to flip the Texas Senate seat blue. The race is expected to become one of the most closely watched Senate battles in the country, where currently the Democratic candidate is now leading. Talarico is now leading by +4 or +5 against Ken Paxton in some of the latest polling data. Now, when this election was just called, we heard from Republican Texas Senator, soon to be ex-Republican Texas Senator John Cornyn. He tried to do everything he could to court Donald Trump's endorsement, towards the end getting particularly pathetic, saying, "Donald, what can I name after you? Donald, you want a highway named after you? What can I do?" But ultimately, Donald Trump endorsed his very, very corrupt brethren in Ken Paxton, his impeached ultra-corrupt brethren in Ken Paxton. Watch Cornyn just walk off the stage right here when he was being asked, "So do you still have major concerns about Paxton? You said Paxton's going to cost the Republican Party the Senate control and the House control. What do you say there, Cornyn?" Watch as he just walks away. Let's play this clip.
Senator Cornyn.
I'll have more to say later.
All right, guys, make a hold, please.
You still have concerns about Ken Paxton?
Make a hold.
Now, before that, Senator Cornyn said, "We came up short." Looked like he was about to cry. Watch this.
Tonight, we've come up short in this primary runoff. A few years ago, I had a friend of mine say, "You know what makes God laugh?" He said, "When we make plans." I've spent most of my time in the Senate building the Republican Party in Texas and in the U.S. Senate, and I've always supported the Republican ticket, and I intend to do so again in this general election. I've said throughout this race that I trust the voters of Texas, and they've made their decision, and I must respect it.
Well, earlier you had Cornyn describing just how dire he thought it would be for the Republican Party if Paxton were to go on and win. Cornyn went on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and here's what he was saying. Let's play it.
Well, I think I can help maintain this Senate seat in Republican hands. I won in 2020 by 10 points. Ken Paxton, as you know, is a flawed candidate. He's got scandal that follows him everywhere. He's survived so far. But if James Talarico, who raised $27 million in the first quarter of this year alone, if he gets the chance to litigate all of these issues in the general election when there's just not Republicans voting, I think that the seat's very much at risk. And I do think also down ballot, as you know, I've served as a judge, attorney general, down ballot races. And I think Paxton might not only lose the Senate seat, but be the reason why we lose congressional seats, 5 new congressional districts, our judicial candidates, and a lot of local and state legislative races. So this really isn't just about me. This is about the Republican Party. This is about the state of Texas and what we've built here. And I don't want to see it slipping through our fingers because of a flawed nominee.
And then Cornyn, as Manu Raju said, was continuing to unload on Paxton earlier in the day in the final hours of this race. Here's what he said. Play this clip.
An embarrassment, his misbehavior, and he's completely unrepentant.
I mean, it's one thing for a person to make a mistake and then say, I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. But that's not Ken Paxton. It's just emboldened him to the point of recklessness and now to the point of self-destructiveness, especially with regard to his own family. The basic problem is you can't trust Ken Paxton. He's lied to Texas taxpayers. He's lied to his senior staff who turned him into the FBI. And then it's his own family, and of course with his wife, allegations made of unfaithfulness. I just think you cannot trust Ken Paxton.
Would you endorse Paxton if he's a nominee?
I've said before, and I'll say it again, that I would support the ticket.
Folks, when you take a look at the map right here, it wasn't even particularly close. The Trump-endorsed ultra-corrupt Paxton destroyed John Cornyn over here. And now we move on to the general election against the Democratic nominee, James Talarico. I interviewed Talarico earlier in the day and I said, so you realize the main thing they're saying about you is that you're a vegan, which they pronounce as a vegan. And you're not even vegan. By the way, there'd be no issue if you were vegan. Let's be clear. But they're saying, Talarico, he's tofu Talarico, he's vegan Talarico. And Talarico had what I thought was the best retort. And this is what's going viral. Watch this short clip of my interview with Talarico from earlier in the day. Let's play this clip. They've already began their attacks on you and, some of the kind of, weirdest, and bizarre ones. They're like, he's a vegan. They don't even know how to say he's a vegan. And you're not, and then they go, let's call him tofu, man. Let's call him tofu. And which is ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. I want to hear your response to just kind of not that, but just in general, stepping into this and seeing, what they're doing when they put $1 trillion media machine behind attacking you. But my thesis ultimately is, maybe that stuff worked 2 years ago or 3 years ago when people were also being pitched, we're going to make your life so much better and it's going to be affordable on day one and we're going to do so much things. It's going to be great. But the bill is now due. And I think whether you're in Texas or whatever, you're like, okay, you promised me this stuff. It ain't happening right now. And you're not going to just divide and I get it. You're not going to make me vote for you by saying the word tofu over and over again. Where the heck is my Doge dividend check that you promised? And where's my savings that you promised me? You screwed me.
That's right. And, I'm an 8th generation Texan. I've been eating barbecue since before Ken Paxton's first indictment. And if all they have on me is lying about me being a vegan, I feel pretty good about our chances this November. And you're absolutely right. So many of my family members, my friends, my neighbors who voted for Donald Trump in 2024, they voted for him because they thought he was going to lower costs. They thought he was going to end the forever wars. They thought he was going to release the Epstein files and drain the swamp. But just 1 year later, they've seen how he's done the exact opposite. Through his crazy tariffs, he's made everything more expensive. He has started even more conflicts around the world, including this new forever war in Iran. He has done everything he could to keep the Epstein files from seeing the light of day. And the swamp in Washington is bigger than it's ever been. So there's a lot of disillusionment. And what I'm trying to do is speak directly to those Texans who feel disillusioned, who feel like the system doesn't work for them, that it only works for billionaires and puppet politicians like Paxton and Cornyn. And I think if we can bring those Texans together across all these divisions in our politics, if we can see past the distractions and the culture war tactics, I think we can do something extraordinary. We can end 30 years of one-party rule in Texas, and we can transform American politics in the process. And that gets me excited every day to hit the campaign trail and talk directly to Texans about the things they actually care about.
Now, just to remind you about Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General. Okay, this is a guy who spent nearly a decade under indictment on security fraud charges. Then came the whistleblower allegations from his own senior Republican staff who accused him of bribery, abuse of office, and using the Attorney General's office to help a donor. And there was also allegations tied there too to home renovation favors connected to Paxton's extramarital affair, which the allegations were so dang serious, and they are, that even the Republican-controlled Texas House impeached Paxton in 2023. The impeachment articles accused Paxton of abuse of official power, retaliating against whistleblowers, obstructing justice, and using taxpayer resources to protect himself politically. He got very, very rich while being the AG, lives in a massive mansion, I think in connection with that extramarital affair. In other words, he's right out of Mar-a-Lago Central casting, everybody. Republican Senator Tom Tillis, North Carolina, had the following to say. Play this clip.
From Cassidy and Cornyn, Senator McConnell, when it comes to all sorts of things, the ballroom, the anti-weaponization fund, anything else?
Yeah. Well, number one, I hate that Bill Cassidy lost. He's a great American, great senator, and I still look forward to working with him through the remaining tenure, our tenure here in the U.S. Senate. Cornyn, the same thing. And to call Paxton ethically challenged is to call Jeffrey Dahmer suffering from an eating disorder. This guy is an empty suit and will do us no service by being in the U.S. Congress. I hope that Texans realize how tough John Cornyn is, how pro-Second Amendment he is, how pro-limited government he is, how pro-America First he is. And when they go to the polls on Tuesday, I hope that they know that they've got a great American who deserves re-election, and the other guy is going to be nothing but an anchor on our conference for as long as he's in the U.S. Senate.
Also, a traditional Republican voter in Texas had the following to say earlier today. Let's play this clip.
Who'd you vote for?
Cornyn.
And why'd you vote for Cornyn?
Because Trump did not endorse him.
Really? That was a big fact of yours.
It makes me sick that the Republican Party is completely controlled by one man, Trump.
If Paxton wins a nomination, could you vote for him in the general election?
Hell no. No way.
Now we see Attorney General Ken Paxton bragging about his victory, and especially he's posting photos of himself with Donald Trump's top MAGA recruiter right now, a guy by the name of Scott Presler, ultra MAGA. They call him the MAGA Prince, is what they're calling Presler. He's the guy who Donald Trump says best represents the MAGA movement today. Seems that Paxton agrees that Presler is his guy. Here's what Scott Presler had to say earlier today. He was very excited about the turnout that was taking place for Paxton. Here, play this clip.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Presler and Republican Party of Texas Chairman Abraham George. You know, of everything he could be doing today, the chairman is here in person at a polling location in Collin County. This is Allen, Texas. And I have been here since 9:30. It's now 2 o'clock, shaking every hand and meeting voters, and it's been a steady stream, which shows me that people know about today, the runoff.
Now on CNN, they brought in Scott Jennings, you know, the guy who got utterly destroyed by Adam Mockler from the MeidasTouch network. And watch the exchange as Scott Jennings starts to say, Talarico has 6 genders. He's 6 genders. Binary toilet bowls, wieners and vaginas. That's where they're going with. And then the retort from Paul Begala, the Democratic person on the show, is like, all right, you're weird. You're a weird dude. You're a weird dude. You got destroyed by the MeidasTouch gens. He didn't say this, but you got destroyed by Adam Mockler. And also, the American people are sick of this crap, and they want to focus on like their lives and not your divisive culture war stuff. Watch what went down moments ago. Let's play it.
It's sort of the differences between what a Cornyn or a Paxton would look like here. I'm thinking about the differences between Talarico and literally every other Texan. Don't know any Texans who believe in 6 genders other than Talarico. Don't know any Texans who said it's immoral to eat meat other than Talarico. Don't know any Texans who walk around saying things, you know, God is non-binary. You all are both Texans. Do you know any other Texan who even talks like that? Issues aside, who says these things out loud? When this gets adjudicated, all that money coming in from California and New York, it'll be well spent in Texas.
You know what I'm smelling, Scott? Fear. Panic. panic.
Fear?
Raw stinking panic. You guys
Fear
are
of the
on this.
cisgender
You
guy?
are on this. He's more popular than Trump in Texas,
Can
brother.
you explain his position?
He cited a biological study. It's not his position. He cited a study.
So you're for it.
So
you believe in
You know what
cisgenders.
I'm not for? I'm not for $6.89 hamburger. Okay, James actually eats beef, okay, but he can afford to. Most
But it's
Texans
immoral.
can't anymore. Now, Ken Paxton can because on a government salary, he's become a millionaire. How does that happen? He can afford hamburger. This is what it's going to be about. You want it to be about woke. I want it to be about broke.
No, I want it to
Let's
be
see.
about
Let's
judgment.
see what.
I want it to be
let's
about,
switch.
are you a normal
You just
person?
smell the fear.
Are you a normal
So
person?
It's just panic.
Cisgenders and no meat.
What I
and
will
Texas
say
terror.
is
It's terror. They're so afraid.
Scott is melting down, but that is like the Republican Party right now.
You guys endorsing
have
the genders is amazing.
You have. I'm not endorsing that, and neither is Talarico, to be honest.
Whoa.
Let her make
her point, Scott. Let her make her point, Scott.
Let me make my point. He is an 8th generation white Texas male who loves meat and talks about the cost of living in the state, is appealing to a moderate electorate, including Republicans who don't want to vote for Paxton, and Republicans are running completely scared right now. And I think that is
just
what
for the record,
what I will say,
neither of you
hold
can
on.
define
But
a
I want-
gender
when we're talking about morality and values and stuff like that, you have Paxton here who was married for almost 40 years, and his wife, who knows him the best, ended their marriage on biblical grounds. What does that mean? I'm a Catholic. I will say that either means you cheated on your spouse with a man or a woman, or you went ahead and abused your spouse. I will say that is, when you're talking about judgment, a woman who has known that man for 40 years, that is judgment.
Well, Scott, can I?
Well, there you have it, folks. Ken Paxton winning that Republican primary, beating the Republican Senator John Cornyn. Cornyn's career is done. Paxton, the most corrupt person, maybe other than Donald Trump, goes on to win. And now you have this dynamic of James Talarico, who I interviewed earlier today, the Democratic candidate, versus the ultra-corrupt Paxton. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.